Shifting focus to a major story that is breaking by the way of deteriorating US-Canada relationships. The relationships will also have an impact, the tensions rather, will also have an impact on the existing trade between the two countries, likely to take a beating, Kartik.
Not necessarily, Shweta. So, again, let's just take a step back and see what has happened. Nijjar, the chief of the Khalistan Tiger Force, KTF, had been gunned down on the soil of Canada. And the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, pretty much laying allegations of the Indian government's hand in this separatist leader getting gunned down. India vehemently denying it, calling it absurd, right, and calling it motivated. Now, what this really does is that there is, in any case, this Khalistan row, which has been, which has been finding fans in Canada, and Canada has attracted over the last many decades a lot of Sikh Indians, making it across the
major
border
diaspora,
and making a
of the
living
total.
in Canada. So any sort of fanning of ambitions in Canada does have a direct impact to the Sikh community there as well as back home.
In India.
Now, India has vehemently denied these allegations, and what Justin Trudeau also, in his defense stated later yesterday in his parliament, that these are informed allegations, and these are up for discussion. He's not saying that these are confirmed reports; these are allegations, and he's admitted to that, and wants to rake up this subject for further investigation, further discussion. India, at the same time, vehemently denying any role of Indian authorities in Nijjar getting gunned down. Now, trade, I believe, is and should be outside of geopolitics, outside of these tensions.
But just one quick clarification that's come in multiple newspapers since yesterday, that perhaps Canada has paused a possibility of a trade relation, a bilateral trade treaty with India. Any merit to those reports?
So there are multiple reports coming, Shweta. Canada, in today's papers, if you see, today's Financial Express states that Canada has said that the bilateral trade treaty is going to carry on irrespective. Now, all this is also happening at a time when the UN General Assembly is in motion. Now, trade, I believe, if you don't look at government to government trade, and if you just look at business to business trade, unless borders are sealed and unless you arrive at a situation where you declare a particular state in conflict of interest to your national ambitions, trade carries on, right? Now, is it going to be the most preferred trading partner? Will it continue to have that rank of getting, some sort of soft, some sort of incentives, from India? And should India expect a reciprocity from Canada with respect to trade ties? We don't know. As we know right now is that about $4 billion worth of trade to Canada from India as exports, $4 billion worth of trade imports from Canada to India, making the total trade at about $8 billion worth, split equally. So any current account deficit between the two trading partners is unlikely to happen. Right now, there is, because it is an equal 4 to 4.
Total trade is over
total
billion
trade being $8 billion. So it's an equal measure of give and take, 4 plus 4. So anybody losing out in this bilateral deal is going to be both parties equally.
Absolutely.
So it would be in equal interest of both parties to at least keep trade in a separate basket and carry on with it irrespective. Now, what are areas which may get influenced when it comes to trade? Students traveling to Canada. That is one major catchment area for a lot of Indian students who want to study abroad and are unable to find admission in US universities, prefer Canada as a second choice. Now, with tensions brewing, geopolitical tensions brewing, Indian students traveling to Canada could take some sort of a beating, right? This is number one in the immediate future. India is a large importer of masoor dal from Canada. So pulses import from Canada to India in the short term with any sort of restrictions could further add to food inflation in India. And food inflation in India has just inched a little under double-digit numbers. So food inflation may take in the short term some impact in case of any restrictions on trade. Students traveling, of course, admission season is over, but going forward, if these tensions were to continue, students going to Canada could get impacted, in some measure. And
And the
IT
business relations in general?
business relations, IT, we have created more than 17,000 jobs in Canada. Indian IT companies and all the big IT companies, Wipro, Infosys, TCS, etc., have offices in Canada, where it is contributing to the Canadian economy, it is creating jobs, and those jobs are servicing global clients in any case. So, would that get impacted immediately? Perhaps not. What are the other Canadian investments coming into India? Startup investments come into India. So you have the Canadian Pension Fund also making investments in India, investing in Indian startups, Indian equity markets to serve as return the pension needs of the aging population in Canada. You also have Brookfield. Brookfield has done data centers with Reliance. So Brookfield is a major investor also in Indian equity markets, in Indian startups, and has trade deals with Indian counterparts. And then you have a couple of other venture capital funds operating in Canada, which have invested even in companies like Paytm, even in companies like Nijjar. So these are investments already made. Would they pull back their investments immediately? Maybe not.
Okay.
I don't think we should jump the gun too much at this stage,
Right.
and draw any conclusions on trade getting directly impacted. I think this is a difficult time. In fact, the political relation between the two countries is perhaps at its lowest in the last many years right now. And let's give diplomacy a chance to try and work out this tiff amicably, and not jump to conclusions yet on trade directly getting impacted,
All
at
right.
least not in the immediate term.
All right, there's no likely impact on trade just as yet. Remember, the goods trade between the two nations stand at $8 billion, both imports and exports to and from Canada and to India. Unlikely to be impacted anytime soon. We'll keep bringing you all those updates right here on Newsline. Thank you very much for watching.